Please welcome to the stage Detective Lieutenant Tim Cotton and the Portland Press Herald's Jim Patrick. Thank you. And we thank you, Jim.
Sorry, everybody. I knew it was me.
Whoopee cushion.
I'm never going to move. I'm just going to sit right here.
Stay still.
Do you need to go?
Fire. My nemesis.
All right, guys, I just wanted to talk to you for a second. I've got a list of questions here. I don't know how many of them I'm going to get to because once Tim and I start talking, we rarely stop talking. That is the nature of Mr. Tim Cotton. Very easy to get going. And I want to leave time for questions for you guys. I know that you're all social media experts. We all use Facebook. We all understand what it is and how to use it. And I want to hear what you guys have to say because I think my questions are pretty good, but I bet you think yours are better. So, Tim, let's get rolling here. How did this all happen? 4 years ago, you guys had, 10,000 followers or something?
Yeah, we had about 9,800.
Okay, not that you're counting.
No, I didn't count. Well, what happened was I took over the Facebook page because I took a job. There was two options, work midnights or be public information officer. I had already done midnights a lot in my life. So I said, I'll take that second choice. So I said, okay, nobody wants it anyway. There was nobody put in but me. One of the jobs in the public information officer is to handle the Facebook page. So I was bored by it, but not because no one had done a great job, but because it was like everything else. And so I talked to our Chief Mark Hathaway, a real big supporter of kind of outreach and things like that. And I said, I wouldn't read this, and he said, well, yeah, we'll do what you want. I don't know anything about it. And I said, well, neither do I. And that's true to this day. I really don't. And that's not a joke. It's funny, but it's not a joke. And so I said, I'm just going to write some longer posts, use few pictures, and, I get a lot of TLDRs, and we'll see what happens. And it took off. The rest is, I was told the whole time that I've been doing it wrong. And I said, well, if I'm doing it wrong, I'm just going to keep doing it wrong because it works. And that's the truth.
What do they mean when you hear that?
Well, I had a lot of professionals calling me, other than, psychological professionals. And they would say, listen, I'm going to give you a couple of tips. I work in social media and you're doing it all wrong. And I said, okay, well, I got 1,500 likes this week on a picture of a duck and this. And so tell me what I need to do right. And well, they said, well, your posts are really long. They're really wordy. You need some work on your commas. And I do have the Shatner comma issue, as a lot of people know that follow the page. And you need to cut it back, use more pictures. And I said, well, why? This is working okay. And so I think, thanks for calling. And so I just stayed with what I knew and what I did. And I tell stories. I'm from Maine. I've been from Maine my whole life. I love Mainers. I love the humor. I like the dry humor. I like the anger of a Mainer. I do. I like that. We were talking tonight to Jim. There's nothing better than getting directions from an angry Mainer. And we've all done it.
An angry Maine man.
An angry Maine man,
yes.
Right. We talked about that it's very typical. And I'm like, yeah, I believe that guy. He's angry. He pointed me in the right direction, but he's angry because I bothered him. He's, raking or he's picking something up in his yard. So I just like that. And I like to portray it to the world. I think we've got a lot to offer here. So that's why I just did that.
So what was the first viral post for you guys?
I did a 4th of July post about, we had this issue with firecrackers in the city. And I wrote it like when your crazy Uncle Ed shows up from Ipswich and he wants to light stuff off in the street tonight, don't do it. We're telling people not to. And then I talked about a crazy guy over on 4th Street. And I used names of people that they were really characters, but I didn't use the right name. And I just wrote this humorous, twisted little ditty about not lighting off fireworks. We don't want to bust you. We don't want to take them. But we're going to have to because people call, they get angry. And that one got picked up by National Public Radio. And so I wrote it, I think, the day before, and National Public Radio called out of Washington and said, would you read that on our morning edition? And I'm like, yeah, I guess so. I can. And so they said, oh, we love your page. We've been reading it for the last couple months. And so I read it, and they put the national anthem behind it. And it was this it was the goofiest thing. They didn't do a good job with production, but it worked, and it went off really well for them. So that kind of really got us going. Once the NPR crowd got going, I had a lot of editors from the AP News. There's a lady named Beth Harpaz out of New York. And she called me. She's like, what are you doing up there? Your page is crazy. And I'm like, yeah, I don't know what I'm doing. But she said, I love it. It's great. So we've had a lot of supporters, and she was pushing that out to some of the news agencies, and just people started picking it up.
There is a controversial issue to talk about, and that's the Duck of Justice, which is not here tonight.
I'm sorry. Yeah, listen. Yeah, he weighs 40 pounds now. I would have had to haul him all the way from the Westin over here. How stupid would you look? And all those kids over there at the concert, I would have had to walk by all those people all darked up and like, that's a duck. It was a smart decision.
And it's encased now in glass.
It's in glass.
I mean,
it's in glass. It's not the same as it was when I found it in the garbage.
Yeah.
And so the story of the Duck of Justice is pretty, I tell it takes way too long to tell the story, but this duck was in the district attorney's office in Bangor since 1988. I became a cop in 88. I walked in with court stuff the first day with a lady named Christine, who's still there. She runs the office. Great girl. And I said, hey, what's up with that duck on the thing? She goes, we hate that thing. The warden service gave it to us. It's like a victim of a hunting accident. And somebody got charged with a crime, and they gave it to us because we convicted the hunter or the guy who was hunting illegally. I said, if you ever get rid of it, I'd like to have it. That's the truth, 1988. And she's like, we hate it. Take it today. And I'm like, no, I don't want to steal. I just started. That would wreck my career. Theft from the DA's office. So
you don't want to be that guy.
Yeah, I don't want to be the guy that goes to prison the first week. And so over the years, the duck degraded, and his legs are bent, and he's dirty. And I'm always like, hey, if you ever get rid of the duck, and I'm getting older and fatter and uglier, and so and I'm like, I'd like to have that duck. And so there's a German girl, true story, and German like that kind of German. And the DA's office was moving one day, and she said, I hate that blank duck. And I said, what are you going to do with it? I said, I've been asking for this for 30 years. And she said, take the duck. And she threw it in the garbage. And I said, freebie.
Yeah.
I'm from Maine.
Right.
I'm from Maine. I will take it out of your can.
Yes.
I will do it. And so I took it, and I took it to my cubicle as a detective, and I put it up, and it was crooked, and its eyes are bulging, and so people would come to my cubicle for an interview about whatever it was, and I'd say, they go, why do you have this duck? I said, you can't lie in front of the duck. So just tell me the truth. The duck, that's why it's there. I called it the Duck of Truth at the time. It had a different name, the DOT. And so people they talk to me because, we were talking about a duck, and it built some rapport. So when I moved into the public information office, I took it with me. That was going to be mine forever. I was going to take it when I retire. And so we started doing this introduction of police officers to the people when the new guys come on board, new girls. And so I said, hey, let's just stick it in the picture. And they're like, okay. I'm just a weird guy upstairs just writing stuff on Facebook. So we started, one guy had it under his arm for the picture, and then one guy we had just the beak, just kind of peeking in. So I thought of it as people started saying, why do you have a duck? And I wouldn't answer them. So they kept asking and built this weird, people why don't tell us about the duck? And I'm like, it's the Duck of Justice. And that's how it happened. And I still have it, and it haunts me. I mean, the duck is huge.
And it had to get fixed up because you guys
it got destroyed. I took it everywhere I went. So its last real run was 2 summers ago. Van Halen was in town at our concert venue. And the roadies, true story, great people. I love roadies. And they're like, I get this call from a guy named Doug. He's like, hey, Tim Cotton. I'm like, yeah. He goes, hey, listen, I'm a roadie with Van Halen. I'd like to have the duck. Could you bring it down? We can't come up because we're setting up the concert. Roadies aren't like the guys that are just drunk, carrying heavy stuff. These guys are electronic geniuses. This guy puts on Coachella out in California. He's a really these guys are great. So he's like, we kind of want to take the duck with us for a couple of days. And I'm like, yeah, I'm up. Because take it on Van Halen's tour, right?
Right.
This is gold. This is internet gold. Even the idiot from Bangor knows internet gold. I said, I'm going to do this. So I went in the chief's office, and he's never said no to me. And I said, hey, I got an idea. and he's not a Van Halen fan. And he said, what? I said, there's a guy named Doug. They're on the tour. They're in New England. There's a couple more shows. I want to take the duck, take pictures in weird places. He goes, no. So I grabbed the chief. I said, well, you got to meet the roadies because you got to tell them. So we went down backstage. We met the roadies, had our pictures taken, got some really nice road shirts. The guys all had their picture, and they still follow the page to this day. And so we didn't send it on the tour. And I'm sorry. Because I wouldn't have cared if it got destroyed. It was going to be a great ending. And so it's so smashed up that we had to have it fixed up. So we had a really world-class taxidermist in Stockton Springs, Maine, fixed it up for us at a really discounted cost. And he said, I'm not going to do this if you're going to let people touch it. Because oil has wrecked this duck. And he took it apart. I mean, it looked like an old mop on the floor when he was. And he restuffed it. And at first he wanted to give me a new duck. And I said, I can't. That's a lie, man. I can't live the lie. He says, this thing is such bad shape. This is so bad, Tim, that I said, yeah, but I'd be lying. And I can't do that. I really, it's weird, but I'm like, that's the duck. And you cannot screw around with the duck. So he's like, all right. He didn't quite understand it. Now he does. So he rebuilt the duck, and he's under glass.
But people, I just heard the story tonight from you. That people are so attached to this duck that they will travel across the country.
Yeah.
Talk a little, and for the record, any of you guys can go up to the Bangor Police Department and visit and come see the duck, and maybe Tim will come down and hang out with you.
Yeah, I do come down as much as I can if we're not like in the middle of something.
If you're not investigating a murder or something.
Well, yeah, I like to meet the people that read the page because they're really cool people, and they're it's a strange group. I mean, if you paid to see me, boy, you got this place. They got a salesman here, but they're good people, and they like to read interesting stories. And the duck is like this central figure in our cast of morons. And I'm the chief moron, so I'm not calling anybody else that name. So a lady with last year, a year and a half ago, a lady shows up, never calls. She just got cleared of breast cancer. And she shows up with her husband in the lobby. This was what she wanted to do after she was cleared, right? But she drove from Indiana. So she didn't come from VZ. And she's in the lobby with her husband. And he's like, yeah, dude. She said, I'm cured. We're going to Maine to see the duck. And she goes, your writing got me through horrible. Yeah, right? So that was incredible. And I'm like, okay, I was looking for a camera.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, this is no way. And she goes, no, we drove from Indiana. Beautiful lady and a great husband, and they were going to go to Acadia too. Acadia was secondary. And it's a true story. And she follows to this day. She's written notes, and she still follows. I had a lady show up to have her picture with it. She's on her second or third bout of breast cancer, and she was going to go to Allagash last summer, do the Allagash waterway as cured. She got new bean boots. I don't know if anybody saw the post, but she came up with her new bean boots because she wanted to tromp around swamps in Maine, and the main trip was to see the duck and to meet me and to talk about how the writing helped her. And so I love that. I'll be honest, it's touching as heck. And especially when you're really not a writer and you really can't write. And that's true. I tell stories. I just write stuff. It's cool. The duck is cool.
It's interesting, though. You mentioned Van Halen. I want to get back to that.
Yeah.
I kind of have a radar for what people are going to like on our Facebook page.
Sure.
If the governor says something outlandish, which hypothetically,
never
if the governor said something outlandish, I know that's going to do rather well.
Right.
It's going to snow. I don't know if you've heard about this at all, but it's going to snow. And we're going to ask for people's snow pictures. And what we always ask is for pictures of the dogs in the snow. And people go nuts. We get
Absolutely, dogs.
If you send them, thank you very much for.
That is cool.
We really do. Those pictures make the day go by when it's snowing like crazy out there.
I love dog pictures.
Do you know when something comes up like Van Halen? Has your radar been tuned now that you?
Yeah, I know what's going to take off. I mean, I know. Some of the most viral posts I've written are like telling people in other states how to handle a storm. That was 3 or 4 million, and I'm making fun of them, but I'm actually telling them, listen, get over it. They don't have any idea what we deal with here, and we don't either. We don't realize how we're pretty cool. And we can handle snow, right? We go out, we shove it 16 inches. They're like, and I truly feel 16 inches. I'm like, they said 20 the other day. And I was like, oh, geez, that sucks. But 16, I'm like, no, that's easy. I can do that. You know, I'll be at work on time. And so I wrote that one about Captain Crunch. And I said, listen, get over your bread and milk. That's a great joke, but it's not true. You got to have Captain Crunch in the house. Fill your tub with water so you can flush your toilet. And you wouldn't believe how many Americans don't know you need water to flush your toilet. And they're like, I never thought of that. Put water. I mean, we grew up. It's like, storm's coming, fill the tub because we're going to flush the toilet, right? So I said, fill your tub up with water so you can flush your toilet. You can do other things with the water too, but don't bathe in it first, you know, if you're going to drink it. And so, I mean, that's the kind of stuff that people, they're like, hey, those Mainers, they're a lot smarter than we thought.
You know what's funny is you mentioned the filling the bathtubs thing. I saw that post, and now we post as the Press Herald about, hey, there's a storm coming, and people are in our comments saying, oh, you got to fill the bathtub.
It's a Maine thing. It's a Maine thing, and rural.
I watched some survival shows, and they taught that back in the day.
Yeah, it's not. This isn't brain surgery.
No, it's
and I talk about spraying your shovel with Pam, and it does work, and that's true. So it's the sticky snow, and so I started getting cases. I got cases of Captain Crunch, which I take to the shelter across the street. And so, I said, I wrote this thing about peanut butter. Don't get peanut butter because that stuff sucks. And so I got peanut butter. So I got cases and cases of Captain Crunch from all over the world. So that was kind of fun, and we gave it to the shelters. And I kept a box. I'll be honest. A roof on my mouth. You know.
I can just watch. Do you just want to do a monologue for another 20 minutes? I feel like
this is what happens.
People would be well served.
Jimmy came to Bangor to meet me, and he didn't buy me coffee.
Yeah.
And I said, you get me down to Portland. I'm driving to Portland. I mean, that's hard for me. I was in Portland, right? And he's like sitting in the coffee shop having a party with a bunch of people. I'm like, hey, Jim. He goes, yeah, let's have coffee. Okay, I'll buy it. So he got water tonight from him. That's pretty good.
I'll take you out for a beer. So
okay.
How about that? So we're talking about, one thing you talk about a lot, you're kind of dancing around the edges here, but what you're really exporting here is Maine to people.
Absolutely.
And just give people a sense, how many different places in Maine, have you been in all 18 counties?
Yeah. Listen, my favorite part of Maine, okay, this is the truth, I love Bangor. Washington County is my favorite part of the world, okay? So that's it. 18 moves in 18 years as a kid. All in Maine. My dad is a minister, and he sells insurance. So he had everything covered, right? No matter what. If he's wrong on one, we're going to get paid off. So, no, my dad had small churches around the state, and so when a small church, and he could sell insurance in the town, because he couldn't afford, the churches couldn't pay him much money.
Yeah.
So we moved 18 times before I was 18, but mostly, I can tell you where I lived. There you go. Naples, Casco, Bridgeton, Mechanic Falls, Machias, Bangor, Vesey, and one stint in Toccoa Falls, Georgia for a short time. And I left because it was just too hot. And so all those places multiple times.
Yep.
Yeah. So, I moved around a lot. And it was hard because I was bouncing from schools. But I think in the end, it kind of made me a little more pliable and able to deal with... I didn't do well in school. And that's the truth. I was a horrible student. I really was. And I still am.
But you still really enjoyed reading, right?
Reading was my life. Yeah,
right.
Yeah, I loved it. I still love it.
Who were you reading, and who really helped form your voice? I guess if we can talk like
I was
writers
sneaking for a time. I was sneaking into. Well, I say sneaking. It wasn't a porn store. It was a bookstore. So there was this little one for a stint. We lived in Bangor. I was really into. Now let me say this: my grandfather was a fire chief of Auburn for almost 28 years. My father started as a cop. I was born. My father was a cop in Auburn, Maine. I was born into this police thing, and he couldn't afford to make a living as a police officer, which is, not much has changed really. But so that said, my grandfather's house was full of books. My grandfather was a reader. And so I was reading 30 Seconds Over Tokyo at 8. I was like, you're at your grandparents for a couple days, and, all you can hear is the grandfather clock ticking, and it's true. And so we read, there's no TV. So I read those books. So as time went on, I loved to read humor books. My grandmother, at 8 years old, sent me at that time I was in Machias, she sent me a subscription to Reader's Digest. Back then, it was thick. And I read everything, but I liked Humor in Uniform, Life in the United States, the fun, Laughter's the best medicine. And so I read all those. I even sent in jokes, tried to get the $50.
Oh, yeah.
Never got it. But so my grandmother saw that, and she cut out Irma Bombeck out of the newspaper, the Lewiston Sun, okay? So she cut out Irma Bombeck and sent it to me. I'm reading Irma Bombeck as a kid, and I thought it was great. It's like, well, you're weird, but it was funny. it was funny. She's brilliant, right? So that was started, like this love of humor writing. And so I'd go to the bookstore when I was like 10, 11, 12, and I'd go to the humor aisle, and I would read like every book. And I always say, that clerk never kicked me out. The clerk's there. I'd be over there reading books. And I'd even set my place and go to the Bangor Public Library for a time. But I'd like Patrick McManus or Irma Bombeck or Art Buchwald, and I was reading all that stuff. Anything in the humor aisle, I didn't care. And so I'd read a book, and I'd fold it over, and I'd come back another day. I would come back, and literally there's like 5 books there with a mark that I'd made. So you might have one of those books if you bought it. So I love to read. So I'd go to the library, I'd grab 5 at a time. And so I just love to read, still do. So I don't really have a specific author. I love magazines. I love periodicals. I read, if I'm at a dentist office, I'm going to read the Glamour. And I do. I read all that stuff because I think that's great. I like to read stuff that I don't want to read. It's strange, but it's true. Like, I don't want to read that.
They're not appealing to you. They're trying to reach somebody else. And
right.
You want to see how they're doing.
I want to see what people are, So I've told people my whole life, like, just pick up. You've got 10 minutes. Pick that up and read it. Not just the toothpaste in the bathroom, but read something else. Try something else. So I love to read. Yeah.
Well, it's interesting because I know you've mentioned Dave Barry, who was my gateway drug.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
it's hilarious.
Yeah, he's just. It really clicked when I heard that that he was a big.
Yeah, really, I love his stuff, and Irma. I got the Irma Bombeck Humor Writers Award in February of 2016 from the University of Dayton. Well, I don't know how it happened. I don't even know how that happened. I wrote something, and it ended up being out there. And there's a lady who works for the Cleveland Plain Dealer. She, one of the senator's wife, I think it's Brown. She picked up the post, so she wrote me this nice thing, and I love this stuff. And so shortly thereafter, I got notified by the Irma Bombeck Writers Institute that I was the Humor Writer of the Month. There were these Saturday Night Live writers, and I'm like, what? It was bizarre, but I told her, Terry. The lady named Terry, I'm like, it's really weird that this happened because my grandmother sent me Irma Bombeck. And I didn't read her books except on the shelf because I didn't buy them. But I read all her columns. And so anyway, it's cool. It's kind of a twisted little world.
But you're still, you're very relatable to me as a writer because you go through cold streaks. The time I was up there having coffee, not buying you coffee.
Yeah, I remember.
Which I will never live down, apparently.
You'll be written about. I was waiting. I was just waiting.
No, I got my 15 minutes assured then. I got all set.
You will
I've
be.
done my thing.
You're going to be a big deal.
All I had to do was not buy him coffee.
Yep.
You go through cold streaks. Talk a little about the pressure of that when you're running a Facebook page and people are expecting a certain level of humor.
I didn't have cold streaks for a long time, but then all of a sudden there's days where it's like, I got nothing to write about. Well, one of my best posts was I wrote, I got nothing, right? I wrote that on a Monday morning. I'm like, hey, man, I'm going to be honest. And I didn't say that part. I just said, I got nothing. And that thing, it was like 4,000 or 5,000 likes. So I learned right then.
Are they sending you a message there?
Yeah, I think so. It's like, keep it up. So I go through cold streaks, and I get a little worried, because people are writing me these notes, and I probably get, truthfully, 60, 70 to 150 messages a day, and I try to read everything that I can. A lot of hate. There's some hate stuff in there. That happens, but and they're like, hey, I didn't see you today, Tim. What's wrong? I'm like, yeah, you're right. You didn't. I write back, I don't know. I just really don't have anything to say. It's hard. Yeah. But then I'll drive home. I was driving down here today. I was talking to my friend Greg, who's here tonight. the stuff that comes to my head to write about is really bizarre. I mean, if I see a piece of furniture, I'm going to write about that, And I was thinking today I'm going to write a ode to skunks because of the death. Their death is so, it's like the one beast that dies on the highway that no one even cares about. And it's because it smells bad, because it's still a good-looking woodland creature. But if skunks die in the springtime, no one ever's like, oh, that's too bad. You ever hear him say, I know Dead Skunk in the Middle of the Road was a great song in the 70s, right? And that was a great song. But I was thinking about writing an ode to the skunk. And that's what I thought of today when I'm driving down here to see. I'm like, I'm going to write an ode to a skunk, because the skunks are a really cool creature. They wreck your flower gardens. They eat eggs. They're kind of a vermin. But they're beautiful animals. And when they're dead in the road, no one cares. But if it's some other creature, it's like, oh, that's too bad. It's a squirrel.
Bambi
is it because they smell bad? Is it because they smell bad?
It has to be.
And that's not right.
Have you ever been sprayed?
They can't, that's their natural defense. This other one's got teeth and it's dead. You're like, no big deal. Oh, it smells bad. I don't care. So yeah, that's where my inspiration comes from. I don't know.
All right.
Yeah.
So, just to be clear with people, you do the writing for the page not when you're on the clock, right?
No, I don't write on the clock.
Because you have, and I didn't really understand this till I met you and chatted with you, you have an actual job to do.
Yeah. And I have to do it.
Right.
Yeah.
Tell me, but you investigate murders. You investigate crime scenes.
Yeah, I've had 17, I think the highest number in the state of Maine. To be honest with you, my partner and I, Brent Bollier, we had 17 successfully prosecuted homicides in Bangor, Maine over the course of some years. Put everybody in jail, except one guy who didn't deserve to go. It was, I say 17. This fellow was charged, but I saw it as a self-defense case, but there were some problems with the case, but I kept saying all along, man, this is a self-defense case. And he was found not guilty. The system does work. When it's working, it works. So child abuse, murder, sex crimes. I do polygraph. I was an award-winning polygraphist in a homicide case. I solved a really touching one of those murder cases that gets to you through the use of polygraph, and I won an award from the American Association of Police Polygraphs for that case, because it was real simple polygraph, but I did get the guy to give me enough so that we could convict the other fella. So those kind of things are really cool, and it's been fun and tiring, but this has been just fun. This doesn't make me tired.
Well, I was about to, my wife actually wanted me to ask if it's a reprieve from the pressure of being a police officer.
Absolutely, yeah. Yeah, I think so. I mean, I can just kind of, people probably, people that know me know that, I like to have a good laugh. You don't do this job without laughing, because you'd go crazy. And so I see it as kind of a relaxation, and I like to write about bizarre things, like the skunk thing. To me, I think I can make that work. I don't know why, but that's what I think. I just like to write about things that no one expects me to write about, and I like that.
It's led to some interesting situations, though. You were telling me about what happens at... I was asking you if the notoriety of the Facebook page ever leads to weird situations where, motorists want an autograph or something.
Yeah.
But, tell me tell these people about the requests you get when you go out to concerts.
So the guys and the girls, the Bangor Police Department, don't always, people say, we want more pictures of the cops. Well, not all cops really want to be involved in this mess. And so the duck is bigger than most of them realized. We have people, they're like, that duck cotton cheese. I hate, if they said if Nixon was in the back room and you were over here, people are going to come and ask for you, and he's dead, But they go to the concert and you get this, hey, where's the duck? To all the cops, and they're like, it's at the station, and so they scream about the duck all the time, everywhere they go, and they don't want anything to do with the duck, and I don't blame them. I understand that. They play along pretty well. But what's happened is, I spoke to a conference in Florida, and I said, listen, I will guarantee you, we are the only place in America where people come to the police department not to complain and not to say they have an issue, but to have their picture with a duck. And that's not a bad thing to be known for. Right? I mean, people, but it can get, what it's caused is conversations between cops and people who they never meet. And so some of the guys there have really played along really well. They don't really want to go have a picture with a family from Poughkeepsie with a duck, but they're like, yeah, they go, could we have a cop in the picture? And they go out and have a picture with them. So that duck being in that central location, it's like I call it the conduit of kindness. And I'm like, just go over the, and all the officers that do it, they'll be like, man, it wasn't all that bad. Because, so these people are like, they see you as somebody who's a helper, but they also see this as an opportunity for their kids to meet somebody, a cop, and have their picture with a duck, and it's something to talk about. It's weird. It's weird.
It's weird. Facebook is weird.
Yeah, Facebook is weird.
So you only do Facebook, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Twitter, I can't do Twitter.
Why is that? Why no?
I can't write that short a sentence. I mean, I write paragraphs that are sentences. That's one of my famous things. It's like, that's a lot of words.
I feel like you'd really enjoy GIFs, though, if you were tweeting out GIFs. No?
No.
So who handles Twitter for you guys?
I handle a little. When I say I don't do it, I'll put out an informational post like a pothole or a storm. The chief actually handles Twitter mostly. He kind of likes it. I mean, he doesn't know what he's doing either. So, which is good. I mean, sometimes it's just better not to know what you're doing. But I put TweetDeck on his computer, and he likes to do the tweets, and he does a pretty good job with it. Just informational stuff. I've played with it a little bit, but I just can't get into it. And so I opened Instagram back up to throw some pictures out there, and I did it for like a day, and I forgot about it. Honestly, I just we do have an Instagram account. So Facebook worked. It's the devil, and it's good. It's all kinds of things. I don't like the new algorithm thing, and I don't like how they played with our posts, but I just kind of go around it my own special way. So.
We should probably break that down for people that don't.
You can explain it better than I can. I don't know what I'm doing.
I'm a nerd. I start the tab with all the information about how old your followers are and where they live.
Oh yeah.
So what you're saying is the new algorithm I've made the comparison. It feels like we're throttled or we
they're
have a governor on our engine. Essentially,
it's not being shown to as many people.
Exactly,
is pretty much what. So it used to go to more people, and now it doesn't. So you kind of have to ask to see it first. And so I'm getting a lot of notes from people that don't understand Facebook either, like me, and they're like, "Hey, I don't see your stuff anymore." And I'm like, "Well, you can punch at the top of the page and say see first," and some of them do that, and then I'm really explaining something I don't understand, which is okay. I mean, but it's a weird. It's focused towards businesses. Facebook's a business, and we're using their platform. They're making money, and I'm not on it. And I'm not asking to sell anything, but they're trying to create a new feeling on Facebook. And so a lot of the people that follow the page have lost us. So it's been more difficult to. So I'm doing a postcard contest right now. Instead of doing that, I'm like having people send me cards to give away a shirt and then people are like, well, that's stupid. I don't care. It's easier. And the postcards come. Mark Zuckerberg has nothing to do with it. And they show up and I get to read postcards. And I love postcards. I love to see nice handwriting. I do. I like it. It's weird, but it's me.
It's a very Maine thing, too.
Yeah, I do. I like postcards, and I keep them in a box in my office, and I go through them all the time. I love them.
So how does the Bangor Police Department benefit from having 273,000 followers or 279 or whatever the number?
Well, I think what's happened is we have parlayed that into helping our homeless shelters. And we have a lot of homeless population in Bangor. We have a lot of transient population. We have a lot of drug addicts. And some of them are homeless, right? And a lot of them are. Mental illness. And so one of the problems I saw was people are cold. We're in Maine. So I started asking for hats. I asked for a few knit hats. And it got out of control, right? So ladies from the UK, Missouri, all these knitting groups they all have a cat picture, right? Beware the cat ladies, because they are serious. And they're like, you want some hats? Oh, you want some hats? I'm like, yeah, I want some hats. And all of a sudden the hats started coming in. My office got overloaded with warm hats. So I give to all the cops in their cars, right? And so we'd say, hey, carry 10 hats, carry 10 pairs of mittens, and carry scarves. And give them out to people who are cold. It's, whether you arrest them or not, you just give them to people. And people, people who are transient, you see all those bags. There's a reason. That's their life on their back. They drop stuff. They lose stuff. You see the mittens on the side of the road. You see mittens in the ditch. You see mittens in a puddle. It's Maine. You're like, yeah, some kid lost that. It could have been an adult. So they might have a hat one day. Tomorrow they don't have a hat. So there's plenty of people out there to make hats. So we turned this into a kind of an outreach, and we call it Hats for the Homeless. So that's not very catchy, but it's a lot of H's. And so I couldn't handle it any longer because it got out of hand. I had stacks in my office. I couldn't do anything. And so some ladies, Louise Bork-Cunningham, Lori Libby from Bangor, Maine, took over, and they control. I put out the plea. The knitting groups go nuts, and we get this year 1,800 hats. She collects them at her house now, so we don't have room for them. And then over the course of the winter, several times we do an outreach. So I give them to our Hope House. I give them to our shelter. I give them to the Good Samaritan Home. I give them to all these homes. We give them to hospitals. And now we're giving them out to other police departments. Right? So, it's not me. I mean, I just write stuff. Hey, I need some hats. So then the shelter calls. They're like, hey, this is really cool. So we really need some sleeping bags. That happened last year. I'm like, yeah, I get that. And they're like, well, we got plenty of nights where we've got people sleeping on our waterfront. Now, Bangor was a hobo town. You know, when you hear Destination Bangor, Maine from Roger Miller, we were the town, the end of the railroad, and that was a hobo town. So when I say that, when hobo, I don't mean it as a derogatory term, but they came to Bangor. There was these whole villages in the early 1900s. And so it's still kind of a place where people end up. And so down on our riverfront, we have these homeless encampments. And they make them out of, they have tents or this or that. And we have to move them out of there a lot because it's not safe. There's a lot of bad things happening down there. So the shelter's like, we need some sleeping bags. I said, hey, I'll ask for some sleeping bags. So the nights we're full in their shelter, we could give them a sleeping bag. Okay, you want some sleeping bags? Here they come. Professor at University of Michigan, 10 bags. All high-end, beautiful outdoor bags. Goes to Amazon. They're there in a day. So a man told his grandkids, I'm not getting you anything this year, but here's why. We're going to send sleeping bags to the Bangor Police Department. He's out in Illinois, and so he sent 10 bags. We had 100 bags in a course of a couple of days from all over the world, UK, out west, and Amazon's magic for these people, right? So we gave it to the shelter. Now, those get lost, they get wrecked, they get run over, So when we need sleeping bags, we just make a mention. And we're not asking. And I also make sure that when we ask, hey, you want to help us out, but you should help out in your town too. This is something you can do there. So you don't have to send them to us. Give them to your local shelter because everybody's got the same problem. If you're in a cold place, hats work for you. Give them to your police department there. So a lot of people are like, I took them by PD, but they weren't interested. And I'm like, well, take them back again and say, hey, people are cold. Throw them in your car. They're not heavy. And so some departments have called, hey, what's this? The people are bringing us hats. They said, you told us to bring us hats. So I'm like, yeah, I did. Just put them in the car. I mean, it's not hard, right?
Why is this a big deal?
To me, it isn't. It's a hat. Give a hat out. It's not hard. But we have an officer from Belize, Nathaniel Alvarado, and he's been really great for this stuff, and so he might make an arrest. He tells me one night, I may arrest this woman. Of course he speaks in English, but it's broken English, and he says, and I said, oh, your ears look cold. She's like, oh yeah, I'm really cold. I got to take you to jail, but you need a hat. She goes, oh, that'd be awesome. So he cuffs her. He puts a hat on her head, and when he gets to the jail, she takes the cuffs off. She hugs him. That's cool. Right? That's pretty cool. That's a cool ending to a story. And he's like, she hugged me. I said, yeah, because she's cold, guy.
Yeah. Maybe you could use a little help.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. It's so those kind of things. We've had a lot of food, or we do pet food drives, and the page drives that we do toy drives, and we do some of those things. And the page, that large outreach we try to push it to other agencies too, though. I mean, I say take care of your own town too. So.
Well, I appreciate that. And one thing you did, because this hits my soft spot, and this isn't really a public service per se, but remember you're with the Wreaths Across America event in December? You went down to
the dog.
D.C. And the dog.
Yeah, that was something. Yeah, that was cool.
Yeah, so apparently everybody knows the story.
Yeah, it was crazy.
I still have to ask him the question, guys. So, so you ended up with, just in case anybody hasn't heard the story, you guys got a Facebook request, a message?
Yeah, a lady from Waldoboro named Chris. I won't give her last name because everybody's going to be at her house trying to pat the dog. But she's got her kids are overseas, military. One's in the military, one's overseas, and she wants her. She's calling it her last dog. I don't think she's in that bad a shape, but she's like, "This is my last dog," and she goes, "This is a weird request, but I see you've got cops on the Reprieve Across America trip. I have a dog I'd like to have from Virginia." I'm like, hey, I like that. Right, that's viral, right? A dog. And I did it for kindness, but I'm thinking, that's magic at Christmas, guy. Hallmark can just... Oh, yeah. I said, seriously? She goes, yeah, I don't know, suppose you do that. I said, yeah, I'm a lieutenant. But I still asked the chief. And I said, hey, would you mind if they got one of the newer cars? And he's like, yeah, no. Would they bring the dog home? I said, just need the dog brought to Maine and dropped off at this lady's house in Waldoboro. And it's a rescue, and it's like this is like her family for Christmas. It would be a big deal for her. Yep. And he's like, yeah, heck yeah, why not? So that's cool. So we just started writing about it, and it just took off. And I mean, it just turned into this insane. If you were going to do a PR campaign, it was magic.
Planned it any better.
No, and we didn't plan it. So then we just made it fun, and I had the guys take pictures of the dog, even when it poops, take pictures. And
weren't there like 3 guys in the car?
Well, there were 2 guys, and then this guy named Rudnicky from Bangor, who's a troop greeter, and this guy like goes on all these Reprieve Across America trips, and he doesn't have a ride home.
Throw him in,
right? We're from Maine. You're like, oh, you're from Maine? Yeah, get in. And he was great. And they're like, wash the dog, Rudd. And he's like, I think he's almost 80. And he does the troop greeting thing. He's fantastic, right? He's a vet. And they said, nah, Rudnicky's back. He keeps getting in our car because he wants to ride with us. He didn't want to ride with the trucker anymore. And so he likes riding in the cruiser because he likes to hear the radio traffic, right? I'm like, yeah, put him in. I don't care. Just don't crash or something because we're going to get in trouble. And Rudnicky rode back to Bangor with these guys. And the dog. He's over there with the dog. It was crazy. And the world just loved it.
I think we wrote a story based on your Facebook post.
Yeah, I mean, you had to.
To catch the
absolutely. And she loves the dog, and the dog's doing well. And she was really thankful for that. And it didn't cost anybody anything. You got to always look at that because someone's going to go, oh, I'm a taxpayer, and don't put that dog in. And you're like, yeah, well, this is good. We're already doing this, and we're just traveling, so we can put people in our car.
Right.
So that's what we did. Took the dog home.
All right, guys, that's it for the very difficult regimen of questions I have.
Riveting.
If anybody has a cup of coffee...
yeah, well, you don't.
Yeah. So, we're going to open it up to questions. We're going to ask you to wait until our young woman here, Molly, gets to you with the microphone, speak into the microphone so that everybody can hear your question. Because although you think you're projecting your voice, you definitely are not projecting your voice enough. So, we're going to start out right here. Molly, thank you.
So my name's Nancy Marshall. I'm known as the PR maven, and I'm just wondering, are you looking for a job?
At some point I will be. Right now, I can't. But
I thought you were reaching in your pocket to get your card.
I was getting a tissue because you touched me with that, Nancy. At some point, I will be looking for a job, and so I'll call you. Give me your card out. Yeah, you know where to get me.
Okay, right here.
Hi, my name's Lori Ann Lake Corral. I work for the University of Maine at Augusta.
Hi, Lori.
But I wanted to talk a little bit about community policing and how this is sort of a new philosophy and the way that you see the Facebook page and the duck and all this stuff really playing into that to help solve problems.
All right. I am a anti-community policing guy. Yeah. Because I hate the phrase. I hate the phraseology. I hate it. I hate it when it came out. I went to trainings for it. And I'm like, hey, wait a second. Aren't we dead? What is this? It's like calling this is the car, right? This is a really cool concept. This is an automobile car. We lost it a long time. Cops lost. Listen, I'll tell you what. Yeah, I get going to meetings. When I started, I had a radio and a dispatcher and a cruiser in a small town in Maine, and I knew everybody. Because I had to, right? I lived in that town. I was that guy, So, like, I drank coffee with them at the Irving, and I would help them put their mower in their truck when I drove by. I didn't have electronics. I didn't have a screen. I didn't have a computer. What I did was had a conversation. And so when that came on, I was like, well, okay, well, get this garbage out of my car, number one. I mean, there's great information in computers and screens, but the real information is gleaned by a cop who stops and talks to you. So, yeah, good idea, but we should have just kept doing what we were doing before. And what we've done is we've become really slaves to electronics and our dispatchers, and now they want... our dispatcher will say, I put it on the screen, just read it. So you got to pull over and you read the screen. You're like, I like the interaction between people, and I think we lost it in America because, and then we got a group of cops that followed that paradigm of, well, it says it right here, so this is where I'm going. And they get out and here's the problem right here, right? Well, no, the problem's right here. It's like 100. This is the problem. Here's the problem. It's not this one thing. It's everything. So you look around and pay attention. So the outreach is great, and it's caused conversations to happen that weren't happening. So, yeah, it's worked for that reason, but I am a very big proponent of just getting out of the car. And so, no offense, but millennials don't get that yet. So people like me who are leaving soon have to say to them, hey, get out of the car. You know, that's not this. It's them. It's you and them, and you live here. So it's been great, and there is an outreach, and I think there's conversations that have happened because of it. I'm not sure it's fixing the problem, but I don't know that it's going to fix the problem because they want to put more stuff in our car. And then they wanted this, and they wanted this, the cameras, and they want, that's great. It's all in the car. But the conversations and the interaction between humans are how you learn what the problems are. And so we have to do that, and I think we try to do that. We're not always successful, but this is maybe just one line in the water, but it's a good point.
Okay, I think we have another question right in the back there.
Hi, my name is Jane Nice.
Hey,
I was
Jane.
lucky enough to get a present from my husband the other day of my beautiful Duck of Justice T-shirt, which I am modeling for you in honor.
Oh, okay,
I know,
there you are. High
so
quality, right?
There you go.
Nice. It's
Duck
beautiful.
of Justice, beautiful. He thought it would fit him. It fits me.
See, it's the main thing. That's the main
I've gotten
thing.
larger. He's gotten smaller.
Yeah, absolutely.
So there you are. On the back is your beautiful saying.
Yes,
which
yeah. You can read it to us if you
Yeah,
want.
what does that say?
All right, well, someone has to read my back.
All right, read it to us.
Keep your hands to yourself. Leave other people's things alone. And be kind to one another.
Yeah.
How hard is that, right?
It isn't. It isn't.
And people think that I coined this phrase.
Yeah.
I just come see Carol Cotton. She's 77. It's my mother, and that's what that is.
Yeah. Well, I love it. We make all of our children who are millennials read this and your column every day.
That's nice.
And we pass it on as much as we can around the country.
Thank you.
So I wanted to ask, since you were talking about how you benefit other agencies, I don't know who makes money off of this beautiful shirt.
Let me explain how it happens.
All right.
Police in the state of Maine can't raise money. And so what happened was, I like postcards. I try to go around things. So what we did was, there's a lady in Brewer, Logomotion, a lady named Val, and she makes a lot of our winter hats. And I said, hey, Val, can you make some T-shirts? She goes, oh, I'd love to. I said, I'd like to sell them, but we can't really sell and raise money. She goes, well, I'll sell them, and I'll raise money, and then I'll donate it to you. I'm like, oh. So we call the AG's office. Hey. Now, when I say donated, it donated to our community relations account. So she sells the shirts, and she donates a huge portion, like all the profits, to our community relations account. And we use that money to buy bike helmets. If there's some kids that need bike helmets, we do Christmas with a Cop. We don't promote that on the page. We don't put pictures of kids that we're taking that are less well-to-do. But we take them shopping, and that money comes from that account. We buy keychains and lanyards and little sticker badges for kids. So all that stuff comes out of the account. Those shirts are sale. And we sell a lot of shirts. And now Winterport Boot, another great company in Brewer, Maine, they took the control of the shipping because what I was doing at first was we were trying to ship it. Well, it's the same thing as the hats. I can't do that. So Winterport Boot does all our work, keeps them in stock, and they also ship them around the world for us. And they do it for nothing. So when I say that, they get the handling, but the profits still go to us. So it's kind of a cool outreach, and it's taken off. And the shirt is cool. Well, designed by a guy named Tim, not me, and he designed the duck logo, and then I came up with the no duck, no justice because I just thought it was funny, and just because, yeah, whatever, right? And so, yeah, great shirt. Thanks for buying it. Thanks.
How many of those shirts? You said a lot, like tens of thousands. Are we talking about, or thousands?
Thousands. Yeah, thousands. They go out of stock about every time I mention them on the page because it's a cool shirt. I mean, it's a cool, and we don't sell junk. Okay, high quality American made T-shirts, and I'm not selling any of that stuff that you just blow out of your hand and you're putting it on the line. I want heavy shirts. So, and she makes sure we have quality stuff. So, thank you.
All right, one more right there. Okay.
You said a lot about your love for reading and
Yes,
how it
ma'am.
inspired you.
Yes.
What if, you did this Hats for the Homeless? What
Yeah.
if you did this Lieutenants for Literacy kind of program?
Wow.
Because it's
yeah.
really kind of changed your life. It would really change a lot of other people's lives.
It's a great idea, and I like the idea, and I try to promote reading. I've written about librarians a lot. I have a lot of librarians that follow the page. Are you a librarian?
No.
Okay, just checking. There's only so much that I have time to do, but I'd like to find a lieutenant who would be involved in this with me, and I could write about it and make sure that this happened. But I do write a lot about reading, and I've written about how librarians kind of changed my life by not kicking me out of the library, right? When I'm reading Esquire, because when you're 8, this is pretty cool. So the Machias librarian, I wrote an article about the Machias librarian, and I wrote a thing about going in this big building and how she didn't charge me for a lost book. And it touches me because these older people as a kid, and you're running around town, and you're sneaking through alleys, and you're going to the library, and this lady, I lost a book on the Coast Guard. And I'm worried, right? I'm going to minister for a father, and so I'm like, I didn't steal it, but I can't find it because I lose everything, and so I finally find it. And the day I take it back, I drop it in the box. I talked about the clunk in the box, and she goes, "Oh, I'm glad you found that." I was worried about the 10 cents, right, back then. And so librarians really are a big deal in what they do to engage kids and not worry about those little picky-uni things like cops should be, like we should be, like we should. The world isn't black and white, right? The world is not black and white. It's gray. And people talk about, the only time people want you to be a hard police officer is when you're dealing with them, right? Social media, they're like, "You're going to throw the book." I wrote an article about standing and watching this lady texting in her car at a light. And I was listening to Tusk, which I hated. But it was Tusk was on, and I said, this is fun, right? So I'm at a cruise.
The Fleetwood Mac song?
What's that?
The Fleetwood Mac song? Tusk?
Yeah. You can't sing to it. You can't dance to it. So people like it, but it was on, and I'm looking at her, and I wrote this thing about Craigslist, like a Craigslist. We just met, and I'm just reaching out, right? And so I wrote, our eyes met, you met mine, you put your phone down, and I got all this backlash from people. "You should have thrown the book at her." I said, "No, man, she stopped texting." And this is going to affect her the way it happened more than me writing her a ticket. So the only people that really the only person you want a cop to be easy on is you. So remember that when you write in your social media madness, and you're like, "Man, you gotta do something about this." Yeah, I did. I told her to stop, and she did. So it's okay. Right? You don't need to summons your way. This is the problem, is that we haven't. You take that away from a good cop who knows when to be gray and when to say that, "Hey, this is enough. I got to charge you with a serious crime." But these little picky-uni things, Lord have mercy on us if we think that's. She stopped. And I bet she still remembers. I bet she read the article. I mean, it got shared like a million times. And so more people might have stopped because of this interaction and written humorously. So I guess what I'm saying is, we got to be just lighten up. Social media, it's so easy to be the devil on there. To write this, get over it. Life's pretty short. We gotta take care of each other. So, but it's a good idea. I'm not sure I have time to do it.
Right there, one more.
Hi, Tim. Stacy from Portland.
Hey, Stacy.
People love your references to music.
Yeah, they do.
And the songs. So how did your taste in music develop?
All right, here it is.
That's a great question.
So, I don't know what I'm doing when I'm a kid. I don't know what I want to do. And so I said, I'd like to be in the radio. That's how it happened. And I listened to music, grew up with older sisters. So, there was Osmond Brothers in my house, and there was the, I can't help that.
No.
I know Osmond songs. So like older sister, Bread, Carpenters, right? I'm growing up in the 70s. My sister's quite a bit older than I am. And so I'm listening to all this stuff. And it is adult contemporary, which used to be a thing. Now I think it's, I don't know what they call it, easy listening. So I'm listening to all this crap. And I love the radio. I grew up. So when I'm 8, 7 maybe, I said to my father, I'd like to have a radio in my room. I like to listen to radio. He's like, yeah, that seems like a good idea. It'll keep you out of our hair. So I went to sleep with AM radio in the 70s in Machias, Maine, right? WABK and WCB at New York. And so I'm listening to all this stuff. So I'm listening to music all night, talk shows. And so when I got out of high school, I'm wandering around, not knowing what I'm going to do. I worked at a machine shop for a while. I didn't do very good at that. I'm not very good at math. So I screwed up a bunch of gun parts. They didn't send them to the military, but I did screw up a bunch of gun parts. So I think I want to be a disc jockey. So I'm walking around Bangor one day, and the New England School of Broadcasting opened. So now it's the New England School of Communications at Hudson University. So I said, that seems like a good idea. This is a true story. I'm I'm going to walk in there. I can read, right? So I go in.
What else could there be to this, right?
Right. Honestly, that's exactly how I've done everything. Everything I do is just a screw up. So I walk upstairs. There's a guy named George Wilde. He opened the school. He's a radio guy. He's from the era of easy listening in New York. He worked in New York, and he's opened a school. So he said, well, why don't you audition for us? Read this newscast. All right. I read it. I read it like I heard it on the radio. And he's like, man, you can read. I'm like, yeah, you're supposed to be able to do this. So he goes, well, you're accepted. I'm like, all right. So I'm like, yeah, this will be good. Radio. I go home and tell my mom and dad, I say, I'm going to be on radio. They said, when did this come up? I'm like, it just seemed like a good idea. They just opened. I went to school there. So I had my first job. There's 30 of us in that first class. The thing runs out of Hudson University now. They do great things for kids, communications. So there's 30 of us in this class. I got a guy, a carpenter out of Rockland who wants to be on the radio, and all these people to meet this kid.
How long was this program?
It was a year. It was a year at that time. Now it's a full-time program. So I read, and WABI, George Hale in the morning, they came over to look for someone that could read to do a radio thing. So George Wilde, he said, why don't you go do audition? All right. So I went over and I read again. I can read. And, you're hired. So I did. So I was at school. I worked at WABI radio. I did weekends, Sundays, and then I got a full-time job as soon as school got out. And so I was doing voiceovers for WABI TV because at that time the radio station and the television station were together. And I did a midday show. It took off pretty. I did okay. And then I went to work Stephen King station across town. And so I got called by the news director over there and said, hey, you can read. And I'm like, yeah. And I said, why don't come work here? We'll give you $1 more an hour. And I'm like, yeah, I can. Yeah, I'm going. So I went over there and I worked for Stephen King from 1980. Probably 83, 84 to 88. And then I decided I want to be a policeman. So I did a radio show with Bobby Russell, Z Morning Zoo. We did this thing. We had great times.
What kind of music were you playing?
Rock and roll then. Rock and roll. Then I went to...
Like Van Halen rock and roll?
Yeah. Anything rock and roll. Mighty John Marshall was the afternoon guy. I did a morning show. I did the news. And we did, just crazy stuff. Had a great time.
I love that it's Mighty John. It's not just John.
No. And his real name is John Fury. Which is a better radio name. I always thought, I said, John Fury. It's a cool name. So, anyway, I worked there for years and had a great time. And I worked for WMJ in Ellsworth, worked for Helen Dudman down there, and I did afternoons there, but that didn't work out because they said some things she didn't like. And they ushered me out the door, so I went back to the radio station for Stephen King for a while. And then I just said one day, I was like, I think I'd like to be a cop. So that's what I did. So that's where my love of music comes from.
All right. Molly's coming right up here with the microphone to get one more question. To get another question, I should say.
Hi, I'm Kathy Johnson.
Hey, Kathy.
Hi. What's so great about Washington County? I love it too.
I love Washington County. I have a camp down there, and in Maine it's a camp. If it's a cottage, you got an indoor flush. A camp has an outdoor privy. I can't tell you that, but it's east of Machias and west of Eastport. And and so, yeah, I love the people. I go there every weekend. I spend, and it's and I have a camp. So don't get me wrong. It isn't a cottage. Poop outside. And so when my son came along in the 90s, I'm like, he's like, my wife's like, hey, I've got to put a toilet in. I said, nah, the kid needs to learn to use an outhouse. This is how you build character, is you go outside to do your business. So that's where I spend most of my weekends whenever I can, and any minute, and it's the best part of Maine. You go to Bar Harbor and you just take a left and keep going until you can't go any further, and then the people are just great. Hard Scrabble, I love it. So that's my place. That's my place in Maine. I don't need this other. I don't need microbreweries and.
You're killing me, man.
I know. I'm not trying to be a jerk. I just think the real Maine is places we're not looking.
All right. Any other questions?
Yeah. What's next?
I'm going to work tomorrow. Someone will buy me coffee there. To be honest with you, I'm working on a podcast with somebody that's in the room tonight. I can't really tell much about it. We're doing working on a podcast. I did some writing for Car Talk out of Boston. Just as a blogger. I didn't write for those two hilarious men. But so they came along and said, hey, you want to do some blogging? I'm like, yeah, I'll do that. So I did that. And so I do a little bit for a uniform company, Blower Uniform. And they do police uniforms all around the country. So I've been doing some writing for them. And so they're going to help me. We're going to put some stuff together. And we're going to do some podcasting. And I've got a name for it already. It's called Cotton Blend. Boom.
You just boom her?
Boom. I boomed her. And so I've had a couple opportunities for books. I've had a couple really nice offers. And I'm still sort of toying with the idea to see how that's going to go. So I met somebody in Nashville there a few weeks ago just to go down and talk to them about a project. And somebody out of New York was interested in a project. So I ended up getting an agent. And he's sorry. I mean, that he's sorry he signed on. So I'm sort of just stewing right now, to be honest with you.
Don't you ever feel like you're like, wow?
No, because truly, if it does, none of this comes to. Yeah, I know what you're saying. None of it comes to fruition. No, heck no, because I really can't write it. I just write stories. Honestly, I'm not a writer, and so I do tell stories, and I think the connection is people like the simplicity of what I'm not trying to be anything I'm not, and I'm really trying to tell our story. Cop story of people and cops. When I go around the country and talk to police departments, they're like, hey, how'd you get this? I said, don't make it about you. Make it about them and you. Don't be you first. Them and you. Pay attention to the people and then tell the story of the people and your interaction with the cops. And that's what I try to do. I don't really make it about, I don't like this hero garbage, and listen, we need you more than you need us. And we have to do a better job for you, but I think to do that, we have to have conversations. And I don't think we're having conversations. And I'm having a conversation, and that's what I do every day. I'm having a conversation. It's not perfect. I'm not perfect. Cops aren't perfect. We hire from the human race. Believe it or not, you're not perfect. So we have bad cops. We need to get them out of the system. But we need what we need to do is work together to fix some of these problems. And I think our agency does that. I really do. I'm not saying that to sit, I'm not blowing sunshine at you. We're not perfect, and it's a tough world we're living in. Things have changed, and we need all the help we can get. So, yeah, I say wow, but truthfully, when the first person called me about writing a book, I said, to be honest with you, I don't want to be famous, and I don't want to be rich, because it's not going to happen, right? Doesn't happen anyway. But I said, truthfully, if I can't do what I want, I just soon write in the sand at my camp. I don't care. So I think that's what works for me, is that I'm just going to go, take it as it comes, not try to make it anything it's not. And this kind of thing. I mean, this was really touching to be, you look at the people that sat on the stage, right? I mean, I mean, I caught from Bangor, Maine, sitting down here, and people actually paid to come. I mean, come on. It's silly. It's silly, because you can come see me for free and see the duck. Bring a coffee. So.
Bring the coffee.
Yeah,
that is the thing.
Yeah. It's a joke.
It's fine. I'm a journalist. I don't have any money. Yeah. It's fine. So I'd like to invite you guys to stick around and have your own conversation with Tim. He's going to hang out for a little bit up here. Well, not up here, but around.
Wherever.
Yeah, wherever.
So
he's going to be around. I'd like to thank Tim for coming all the way down here tonight, and thank you for coming out.
Thank you.
Thanks very much.
Appreciate it.